an entrepreneur who is not in this space, they need to be in this space, share this with them. One of the worst things that I typically experience is when somebody comes to me and they say, oh, I went to this great workshop and you should have been there. And I go, why didn't you tell me? Oh, I don't know, I didn't think about it. Well, that's great. Now I don't know. They're not going to give you their notes. They can never fully recreate that moment. And so you just left not knowing. So don't leave your friends out there not knowing when you can give them the knowledge that can actually help them to succeed as well. So let's get started. The first letter in our acronym is B, and B stands for boldness. I love that little kid. She is jumping up there, dressed like a superhero, and there is nothing holding her back. But boldness is the very thing that many people do not have when I ask them why they're not putting anything on social media. It's usually because they're afraid to. They think they're going to say the wrong thing. They don't know whether or not it will be effective. They don't want to be the front or the face of their business. And the truth of the matter is, you actually don't have to be. Unless you are doing a personal brand where you're an author or a speaker, you don't have to be the face of your business. You can actually have somebody else be your spokesperson. And there are people who are willing to do that. That could be your customers, or it could be somebody that you actually hire to do things on your behalf and to promote your business. And if that's not where you're strong, go ahead and put that in your marketing budget so that you can actually have somebody else stand up and promote your business on your behalf. But I encourage you to face this moment with boldness. It's not as scary as you think, and I know that's not fair for me to say because I spend a lot of time standing in front of groups. So it's not fair. But the more you do it, the easier it will actually become. And the fact of the matter is, when you get up and you're standing in front of a camera, even if it's live and it's the first time that that individual is experiencing, it's the first time that audience is having the opportunity to hear what you have to say, it doesn't mean that it has to be the first time that you actually say it. You can practice. I encourage you to practice before you get up in front of somebody. You can write out a little script for yourself and get up there and actually just practice in front of your camera. On Instagram, they actually added a new feature where you can practice before you go live. If you click the live button, there will be an option that says practice. On Facebook Live, if you're on the desktop, they have an option where you can hit the live button, but it says private only. So nobody's actually going to see the feed, but you have an opportunity to practice and get comfortable with your communication. Another thing that you can do is what they do with television. And that is they'll have cue cards behind the camera. And I actually do this sometimes when I'm at home, if I'm just going off the cuff, I'll actually have a chart in front of me that has points for me to hit because I don't want to miss anything. And there's nothing saying that you can't do the very same thing. It doesn't have to be totally impromptu just because you're hitting the live button. So the more comfortable you get, that actually resonates with people when they're hearing your message. What are some of the reasons why you're nervous? Well, I shouldn't assume that because you might not be nervous. But what are some of the reasons that you've heard other people say that they're nervous about going online or posting and sharing about their business? Feel free to drop those in the comments. And there are a couple of people who are in the room with me. Do either of you have anything to share about some of the things that make you nervous about sharing online?
Maybe I don't say the wrong thing, or maybe I will mispronounce something. Or, get tongue-tied or something. I'm like, look. maybe I have a blooper. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. If you did not hear it, then maybe I have a blooper. Some people are aiming for perfection. Just keep going. If you hit that blooper, just keep going. One of the things that it does is it makes you real. We all have those moments where we get tongue-tied or we use the wrong word or we go, just acknowledge it. If you catch it, if you can, acknowledge it, laugh about it, and keep going. For the most part, people are not coming to you in hopes that you're going to give them a perfect presentation because that's not what you do. They're coming to your page to find out about your business, find out more about you, how they can tap into your services. So the things that we may be worried about, they're probably less concerned about because that's not even why they're coming. Did you have anything you wanted to share?
No, I was just giving you an amen. We may not be giving people perfect.
And that's okay. It's okay. Because at the end of the day, if you're selling cell phones and you said the name of the wrong chip, they don't care. They just want their product to work and they want to have good customer service. And if they feel like they're getting that from you, those little mistakes will be forgiven. So here are some ways that we can actually counter that nervous feeling. As I mentioned before, practice it. Practice it until you are comfortable with it. Just like when we were told back in the day to practice our pitch before we go into a networking meeting, you write out a little script. I am so-and-so, and this is what I do, and this is how I can help you. Same thing. Write it out, get a spokesperson, or you can actually pre-record it. Now, this actually does not work for me as well. I like that live moment. There's something about the adrenaline that makes me hone in a little bit better, and I think my energy is different when I'm live versus if I stand and pre-record it. Another thing with pre-recording, and this may not be the case for you, is that I find myself giving myself multiple chances. Like if it's live, it's just out there and it's done. If I pre-record it, I may do it like 3 or 4 times, and then I have to stop and go, okay, this is the last one, and however it comes out is how it comes out, and you have to share it immediately, just get it off of me. Another thing that I found really helpful if with people who are nervous about going live especially, is to not do it alone. There's something about being in the company of other people that makes it a little bit easier. So if you are having a moment, you're like, man, I just really don't want to be the only one up there, do it as an interview or a collaboration. Or if you're having a conversation, things come out a little more naturally than if you're just standing there by yourself. The next option is to use other people's platform, and this actually has several benefits. So a platform is somebody else's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn profile. What this does is it gives them content, it gives you content, you guys have the opportunity to have a conversation, and it introduces you to somebody else's audience that probably didn't already know you. And so you then end up extending your reach beyond just yourself, and you don't have to stress about the fact that it's content. And the last thing that I would encourage you to do is to capture a natural opportunity. So if you are already doing something, just throw the camera up. Just throw the camera up. If you already have, people coming in and you're setting up for the day because you have a new product line coming out, put a camera up. If you have somebody that's coming into your space and they're going to be presenting, put a camera up or just take some pictures and say, hey, see, you can actually come in here and yes, I'm actually presenting from the meeting place. And the meeting place is a co-working space. So you can actually rent out rooms and come in and work if you don't have an office. It gives you an option to not work from home. But they also have rooms to rent for moments like this. So there's also an opportunity that will already be natural where I was told her I was doing this. I was like, yep, I'm going to set up my camera. Because this for me is one, live content where I'm sharing with you some techniques that will help you in your business. 2, it's also giving me content for my page that I can then go and share later. Or if somebody says, man, I really hate that I missed that. Well, you actually didn't. Here's the recording. So think about some of those opportunities that are already available to you that you can utilize and as an opportunity to share content, but you're not stressing about the fact that, oh my gosh, I have to post something. There's some things that you're already doing that are post-worthy. Creation, we know about. Creation is when you develop the text, you write the article, you do the blog, you do the video, or you have moments where you're sharing on somebody else's platform. But are you familiar with curation? I'm going to assume, are you familiar with curation?
Are you looking at the phone?
I'm looking at the phone. So, if you are not familiar with curation, that is when you gather up information that you can share, but it should be related to your business or your industry. So instead of you having to write everything or create every piece of content that you will post on your page, you can actually share somebody else's content. Not as your own, still as theirs, but there are a couple things that you could do. One, it takes some pressure off of you. Two, it positions you because it shows people that you're not living in a bubble when it comes to your industry, that you're actually keeping up with what's happening, and you show yourself to be an expert. The third benefit of curation is that you can actually lend your voice to somebody else's work. And what I mean by that is if an article comes out that is related to your industry, there's some big breaking news, you can actually share that content and then your own spin on it. And it doesn't have to be that you necessarily agree. You could be giving a counter argument to what is being presented. But it gives you an opportunity to share your voice with people, and you don't have the burden of being the one who actually created that piece of content. Another benefit of curation is if that particular article is trending, if you're not familiar with trending, that means that it's really a buzz, it's really hot, everybody's talking about it. If it's trending and you put out a piece of trending content and people are discussing it, then there's a higher likelihood that people will see the content that you put out because everybody's already talking about that. So if you jump on trending, and that can go with topics and hashtags, then it actually makes your content more easily found. So there's some standard hashtags that just come along with the day of the week, like Throwback Thursday or TPT, Motivation Monday. And so those actually made me choose, especially Motivation Monday actually made me choose when I was going to post my videos. I do speaking and training. On Mondays, I put out a motivational video, hashtag Motivation Monday. I have picked up people who actually follow that hashtag. So hashtagging matters as well. And you can actually do searches for it just by going into Google and typing in trending hashtags or what's trending today. Twitter has an option where it actually show you on the side of the feed what the trending topics are. And I don't know if you paid attention to it, but in Instagram, when you start typing in a hashtag, it will tell you how many posts are related to that particular tag. Now, I know many of us like to create our own, and yes, that's great. But if you're the only one who is using your particular hashtag, that means that other people aren't going to be searching for that. So even if you want to include that, be sure to use some of the hashtags that are already really popular so that when people are searching for what they're accustomed to, your content will show up as well.
Word of advice on that: make sure you vet your hashtag before you use it.
Yes, yes. Vet your hashtag. Don't just put it in there. Go look and see what's actually coming up, particularly if you're using one that you feel like you created. Just go see what's associated with that. That's a very good point because it may not necessarily be something you want associated with your brand. The A in our B.A.G acronym is the algorithm. The algorithm is really important. Few people understand it, and some people try to ignore it. It is not helpful to ignore the algorithm. Social media, as wonderful as it is and as personal as it feels, and we see our names up there and we go, that's my account. That is so cute. That is your account. But what it is not is your platform. Somebody else owns it. And they determine what's popular, what's shared, what gets a lot of attention, and that is determined by their algorithm. And so when you decide that you're going to be independent and you're going to buck the system and they're not going to tell you, that's great. That means that nobody's going to see your stuff, or very few people. And it might just be your mom, and she might just be looking at it because she wants to support her baby. So you have to play the game the way they want you to play the game. So pay attention to the algorithm. And I'm not saying you have to become a coder. Sometimes you can just look at what's happening in the app, and it will actually let you know what the platform likes. Facebook likes lives. A lot of people don't like to do them, but it doesn't matter if they don't like to do them. If the algorithm likes it, you suck it up and you just try it. And you do the lives because your goal is for more people to see what you do, or to gain more customers, or to reach more people. And you have to play the game how the platform wants you to play the game. So, algorithm is queen. Okay? Can we all accept that? Algorithm is queen. And we must bow to the queen.
You know, I find that when I'm curating content, I'll have something that links out to an outside website, which I know Facebook does not appreciate and will not help share my content.
Right.
So I'm always on the people that I curate for to create Facebook events so that Facebook will actually let people see what we're trying to share.
Yes. I create Facebook events for almost everything. Because Facebook likes them. And if you put up this really, really beautiful graphic and with your dates and all that, and it looks so good, and you paid somebody and it's totally branded, but you create no event for that, you would have a very small percentage of your following actually seeing it. Now, when you put up an event, the very same information, Facebook goes, oh, they're doing something. And then when people engage, Facebook says, more people like it, and then it ends up pushing out your event. And I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but Facebook is starting to do online paid events. So almost every time you set up an event, they say, is it paid? Is it paid? Is it paid? And I'm tempted to just do one because Facebook is pushing its own new initiative. So if they're pushing it, they want people to use it, and they will share it even more than the thing they already like. So if they like Facebook events and now they're pushing online paid events, and you jump into that stream, even if it's cheap, because it can be 99 cents, then Facebook algorithm is going to push it out even more, so your audience will be further than what it would have been had you not taken advantage of the algorithm. Another thing that Facebook is really looking at is Reels. I got an email the other day saying, would I participate in this challenge, or this opportunity to produce Reels over the next 30 days that I could monetize? They would pay me for them. And I'm like, when a company is putting money behind something, they really want that. So after I leave here, I'm going to think about how I can maximize the opportunity with Reels.
Sure, it's TikTok or Facebook.
Exactly. Right. TikTok on Facebook. So pay attention to what the algorithm is doing. Go ahead and yield to the algorithm, because it's not a fight you're going to win. It's an opportunity for you to really reach more people. And reaching more people means that you have a larger audience, a larger base with which to work, and more potential customers. So the next thing I want you to think about and answer for yourself, like, what are your goals when you post? And drop those in the comments too, because I'm curious what your goals are. And if your goal is, I have no goals, we need to have a conversation about that, because your goals around your posting actually matter. And the reason why they matter is because your goals will determine what you share. So if I have a goal of reaching more people, and one, I'm going to put out content that people want to share. Is it share worthy? If it isn't share worthy, then there's no point. And you'll know whether or not something is share worthy. If you don't have a brand new page, you have some history. And the least fun part of Facebook and the least fun part of any of these platforms is the analytics. But though that's where you find out whether or not you're being successful. On some pages it's called insights, but go and look at the data. If you had 0 shares and no comments and nobody watched your video at all, you could probably stop sharing that. And that, I don't mean like immediately, but give it some time to actually build some traction. And the more consistent you are, the more you can see whether or not your audience actually is following that particular piece of material. But if it's been like 3 or 4 months and you can tell what they're engaging and what they're not, it's time to move on. Even if you like it. And it may not necessarily be the content itself, but it could be how it's packaged. There are tiers. So when you post, don't post all text if you're not on Twitter or something. Like, you need to put a picture in there. People are very highly visual. And on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, as well as Facebook, they expect to see an image. So don't just put text up there, because it's probably going to get ignored. I'm sorry. And if you don't have a nice camera, use your phone. If you don't want to do that, use stock. Don't steal your stock. Go purchase your image and use that so that you actually have an image to go along with your post. The next level would be video, a recorded video that you actually upload to the platform. Make it impactful. It doesn't have to, impactful doesn't mean that it has to be serious, because a lot of videos that are shared are just really funny and entertaining. Above that would be live video. And what I'm seeing more of is opportunities to collaborate. So think about that when you're thinking about your content, and think about what those goals are. So we're going to go back to our goals. If you have a post and it is not doing anything, stop that and just repackage it to look like some of the posts that were doing really well. For example, if you put out, top 10 tips and it was just an infographic, but it didn't do very well, try doing the same thing as a video. And if you really want to push it, do it as a live video, because we know that the algorithm likes live videos. Same content, different package. I put out a video on October 14th, and it was the announcement of me going back into entrepreneurship. That video has been seen 953 times. The reach on it is 1.4, so 1,400 people. It blew out all of my other content. Some of it by double. Some of my other videos that are really short by like 800 people. What's the difference? It's what I put with that video. So on my page, I just put, hey, I got big news. Here's my announcement. When I started sharing it, because it matters who you're sharing to, when I was sharing it into entrepreneurial groups, I was breaking out some resources that they could tap into to help with their business building. I didn't have to tell people to share it, they just shared it. So it went out much further than my actual audience, and it's still one of my most popular videos. So what that tells me is, and there was a lot of text, so it was really surprising. Like, I wrote like a blog in that thing. But it was a lot of valuable content, and now that was the comments that I was getting within these groups is, oh my God, thank you for sharing this is so valuable. Or they would tag other people's names. Make content that is share worthy. Now, have I done that tons of times since then? No, but it's back here, so I know I need to do it. That is what they expect. And if I want my content to be shared, then I have to give people something that they really feel compelled to share. And some of that content that is more value driven is going to take time, but it's worth it if people are seeing a purpose for themselves, which is the real reason why you're putting content out anyway. This is something I want you to keep in mind. And if you want this, I will actually email this out. And it is the components of a post. So you have your visual component, you have your text component, you have your hashtags, which are sociable, and then you have your call to action. And your call to action is the engagement that you want the audience to actually take. Many people do not use call to actions, but you should, because sometimes people don't know. They could be sitting there laughing and cracking up at a video and go, oh my God, that's the best thing ever, and not share it. Or, man, that was so helpful. Share it with your friends. If it brought value to you, it can bring value to them. So your calls to actions, they don't have to be elaborate. If you are a nonprofit, you can just have donate to support, or share with 3 other people. If you have a business, click to purchase now, buy today, stop by and see our new merchandise. There are several things that you could put in as a call to action, but give people something to do or some way to engage you. If you want to know more, call. It's a call to action. So, our example here is an entrepreneur who owns a juice bar. So, what is possible content for her?
Oh, pictures of smoothies and the juice for sure. You can get really beautiful images that way.
Yes, pictures of
Some different
smoothies.
fruits and maybe some of the ingredients that they're using.
Video of deliveries to demystify what happens behind the scenes, same with prep.
Behind the scenes videos.
Blooper reel.
Yes, blooper reels. You know,
They love
people like blooper reels.
Everybody loves a train wreck.
It's true. People like blooper reels. There's nothing wrong with showing that it's not all pretty, that you have moments that aren't great.
Oh, talking about why particular components in the juice have benefits and being
Yes.
honest about who they may or may not work for.
Yes, that is true. Nutritional value, what the impact is. That is an awesome thing that she could do. Her sign says cold press. Telling people what cold press is. Do you use organic or not?
That could be a fun reel as well, just the process of cold press.
Yay. So a lot of things that could come out of that moment that would help somebody understand more about that business without it being all sales. Your content should not be all sales. 80-20. 80% value, 20% sales.
Random interview with a customer.
Yes.
With their permission, of course.
Yes. So Geneva said a random interview with a customer with their permission. Absolutely. If you share somebody's image online, get their permission. You don't want them commenting on the post saying, you didn't tell me you were going to put that up.
I had kale in my teeth.
Always get their permission. And, let them know when you're going to put it up. If they were willing to participate, they probably want to see it too. And most people who are willing to go that far do want to actually see what the result is.
You can even set dates for people to come by, kind of podcast-esque, and just do a quick interview and help people promote their businesses that way too.
Yes.
They're coming in anyway.
And another thing that is really good content, as Janine was saying about promoting the business, is getting reviews. And if you can get reviews on video, that's even better, because you can use it several times, and it's not you saying how great your business is. It's somebody who is totally neutral, and a lot of people will go, oh, well, so-and-so is using it, or so-and-so is doing it. I'll go check it out, especially if it's their friend, because they feel like their friend is kind of personally, essentially they are personally endorsing this business. That is actually it for my part. But what do we have for you? So what I have next, for those of you who want to continue this conversation, is that I'm doing a training on social media, and the topics are going to be, what do you do if you feel like you don't have content? You really do have content. So we really talk about your business and how you can pull some natural pieces of content out that can be used to promote your business without it being all sales, direct sales. Calendaring, which is super important. Most of us use a calendar. I see you hiding. Most of us use a calendar for our day. So you know, when I get up, I have to go here at 10, here at noon, here at... Do you do a calendar for your social media? Or do you remember like the day before Black Friday that you should put up a sale? Oh, it's tomorrow!
Right.
Actually, with Curation, what I do is I get the newsletter from the groups that I share, like the SBA and the SBDC and SCORE are 3 of my main curated content sites. And they will send newsletters, and I'll take the content from their newsletter and share that, and then just put their link out in the comments so it doesn't detract, and use their imagery as well. So their reminders are my reminders. But they don't always get posted at optimal times, which I know is important.
Yes.
My whale is not as it should be. It's a funky looking whale.
Another thing that I want to discuss, because my background is marketing and design as well, is what not to do. Because there are some things that you should not do when it comes to design that will be visually unappealing, and we don't want people turned off because you're having to do it yourself and you're not sure what to actually do. And the last thing would be how to get it out on the social media platforms, because there are some ways that you can maximize, such as cross-posting, repurposing, so that you don't feel like you're creating content all the time. You really don't have to be on that wheel. There are ways to get around creating content every single day, but you can look like you do.
Can we hire you to do this kind of thing too, or do we have to learn how to do it ourselves? Or do you have a list of folks that you might recommend?
If you want to work with me, then we can discuss that offline, what that would look like. And follow or subscribe. I am pretty much everywhere except for where the children are, because the children are not my audience. And that is nothing against the younger people, like the teens. They're just not my audience. And so even when you're thinking about where you should be, there are tons of social media platforms out there, and a lot of people feel like, oh my God, I have to be everywhere. If you are going to be everywhere and nowhere, don't do that. And what I mean by that is if you're going to have 5 or 6 accounts and none of them get really good traction, you're really not posting well on any of them because you feel overwhelmed, that is not a good strategy. Really determine where you're going to be based on your clientele. Who are you trying to reach? And there's demographic information for all of them. So you can actually just Google that and it will tell you 16 to 24 is on TikTok for the most part, but adults are starting to be there because once the pandemic happened, there were a lot of people making videos at home and ended up on TikTok. So TikTok's demographic is starting to change. More business professionals are on LinkedIn. More people who want long form training as well as gaming, heavy on YouTube. There are people who are into cooking on YouTube. So you can really find out where your people are and then go to those places, because you will get more out of it if you're more targeted than being everywhere and being a shallow pool as opposed to something more deep. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And if I can't answer it at the moment, I will look back around to you and answer.